Hey, what's up, everyone? We have a bevy of news to get to today, ranging from Trump getting COVID, going to the hospital, and going back to the White House all in one weekend. The effectiveness of masks is once again up for debate. Kyle Rittenhouse is still being dragged out as a white supremacist, and my personal favorite, the insane, completely asinine contention that the economic collapse we experienced this year is due to capitalism. But before we get into any of that, any of the news from the weekend, I want to ask that you support my channel by hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this video with your friends. I don't have a marketing team or a big fancy studio, I'm just a dude trying to share information. So if you think what I'm doing here is important, if you want to help me combat false narratives floating around social media sphere, share this video. If everyone who watched this video shared it one time, I would be bigger than Joe Rogan by the end of next week. Okay, now, on to the news. First item on our list is the complete firestorm, dumpster fire, mud river of a weekend that was Trump with COVID. So it all started out on Thursday when Trump tweeted out Hope Hicks, who has been working so hard without even taking a small break, has been tested positive for COVID-19. Terrible. The First Lady and I are waiting for our test results. In the meantime, we will begin our quarantine process. Okay, so Hope Hicks is one of Donald Trump's main advisors. They work very closely together. They spend a lot of time on Air Force One together. They go everywhere together. And so when she was diagnosed, it was like, oh boy, I bet Trump is next. And he was. The next day, Friday, right after I did my show, he tested positive, and he was flown to the hospital after COVID-19 positive test. So U.S. President Donald Trump has been flown to hospital less than 24 hours after testing positive for coronavirus. The White House said the decision to transport him to Walter Reed National Military Center was taken, quote, out of an abundance of caution. If I hear that term one more time, I'm going to go crazy. An abundance of caution. I hate that. I hate it so much. Although I understand, Donald Trump, he's the most watched person on the entire planet. So it's like, it makes sense. I just hate it so much. Okay. Mr. Trump, who had a fever, said early on Friday he and First Lady Melania Trump had tested positive for COVID-19. The White House said he was feeling, quote, fatigued but in good spirits, and he was experiencing mild symptoms. The news comes just over a month before presidential elections, where he will face Democratic challenger Joe Biden. Okay. So this led to just a bunch of crazy, conspiracy theories and reactions to his positive test. He tweets out that he's tested positive for COVID-19, and everyone's like, oh, he's faking it because he doesn't want to go to the next debates. Oh, he's faking it because this and that. Oh, he deserves it because all this other stuff, right? So Greg Gutfeld on Fox kind of responded to that, right? So CNN's John Berman. The one thing we know for certain is that politics is superseding medicine here. Okay, there's no evidence of that. When I'm watching that car, the parade yesterday with him in the car, this is Joy Behar, that was right out of a dictator's playbook. Okay, what? Really? The president of the United States is sick. He wants to go around and make sure all of his fans know that he's okay. So he drives around in a closed car wearing a mask. And that's just like a dictator? No. I'm sorry, but no. John Avalon from CNN, or Avalon. It's a karmic twist because Trump has deployed these politics of sickness in his campaign. Anthony Mason. The president seemed to be flirting with the coronavirus by not wearing a mask and going to big rallies. Okay, but at these rallies, he didn't have to wear a mask. Okay, a lot of them were outside, and even the ones that were inside, he was no more than 20 feet closer to anyone. He was 20 feet away from everyone there. He wasn't close to anyone. Megan Ranney. I would never want to say the president is experiencing steroid-induced psychosis, but it is certainly concerning to see some of his actions today. What does that even mean? It is certainly concerning to see some of his actions today. What does that even mean? Steroid-induced psychosis. Okay, you're not there. You're not diagnosing him. You have no idea what's going on. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you actually know what's going on. unless you're looking at his reports, you can't know. Carl Bernstein. His response has been homicidal negligence. He has failed to protect the American people. What? Homicidal negligence? Okay, I'm tired of this idea that Donald Trump downplaying the virus means that he is responsible for the 215,000 deaths in America. That's not true. Okay? For this statement to be Donald Trump is responsible for all deaths in America, it would have to mean it would mean that he had to have known exactly how deadly it was going to be and downplayed it. There's no evidence of that. Okay? He said he downplayed it. He downplays or upplays everything. There is no middle lane with Donald Trump. Okay? There is no fast lane. There is no slow lane. He has... I'm sorry. There is no middle lane. There is a fast lane or there is a slow lane. Okay? There is no middle lane with this man. Why can't people seem to understand this? He exaggerates or he under-exaggerates. It's crazy. Social media teams with conspiracy theories from QAnon and Trump's critics after president's positive COVID-19 test. The misinformation age quickly enveloped the news that President Donald Trump and his wife Melania had tested positive for COVID-19 as conspiracy theories about the news flourished on social media. Followers of the extremist conspiracy group QAnon have concocted a variety of falsehoods about the roots of the pandemic since it began, scrambled to explain how Trump's announcement fits into their false premise. And so you just get tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of conspiracy theories about it. Being Trump knew exactly how it's going to be, and so he downplayed it because he wanted to kill Americans. And you know, all this other stuff. Donald Trump said that he has coronavirus because he doesn't want to be at the next debate. Okay, what? That makes no sense. Okay, and then also we see that he was, you know, had like something like 100 experimental drugs and treatments while in the hospital, right? So which led to some pretty funny memes. But then people are like, why is he getting experimental drugs if he's not dying? It's like, okay, because he's the president of the United States and the single most monitored person on the entire planet. Okay? People are going to do whatever they need to do to keep him alive. Literally. I think it's that simple. It's that simple. Right? I think Donald Trump's refusal to wear a mask and his language on masks has been not exact, but generally correct. Talking about masks being ineffective, right? So here's an older article, but I think it's still got some good information. Why shouldn't we wear face masks to stop coronavirus? Okay. Well, first, so this is tweet back from February, end of February. So early on in the pandemic, the U.S. Surgeon General. Seriously, people will stop buying masks. They are not effective in preventing general public from catching coronavirus, but if healthcare providers can't get them to care for the sick patients, it puts them and our communities at risk. So here are the facts. Surgical masks are not recommended at this time by the CDC to prevent transmission of coronavirus. This is because surgical masks, which are largely ineffective in preventing transmission of COVID-19. Okay, this is early on in the pandemic. And they're already admitting that masks are not effective. Okay? They are relatively loose-fitting and only protect from large respiratory droplets. They are not effective in filtering or protecting against small respiratory droplets that are, there's a typo there, that can carry coronavirus and cause infection. Some experts believe that the mask may actually increase the risk of transmission due to improper use. More frequent touching of face to reposition the mask, and a false sense of security of protection, making it less likely that you wash your hands. Okay, so here's the deal. If we're going to wear masks, we need to do it correctly. Okay, this is right here. It's pretty simple. Surgical masks aren't stopping the coronavirus that come in small droplets. They stop the big droplets, not the small ones. So it may cut it back upwards of 50%, but that's about it. Right? Those small droplets are getting through. So it's going to filter out some of the virus, but not a lot. Right? We're probably looking closer to like 30% effectiveness. Maybe. right? And then you get the whole people adjusting their masks. I do it all the time. I have to wear a mask to work. I have to carry a bottle of Germ-X in my pocket because I have to wear a mask. So every time I go to readjust my mask, oh, Germ-X, I do it a couple dozen times in a 4-hour shift. Right? Improper use leads to increased transmission. So it's pretty obvious here. Masks are doing more harm than good. And here's another one. Another article by Live Science. Okay, a paper discussed below has been retracted by the journal The Annals of Internal Medicine. The authors wrote that their statistical methods could not determine whether their findings were reliable, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The study had found that surgical and cotton masks do not effectively contain viral droplets containing SARS-CoV-2. Subsequent research has suggested that face masks are an effective method for containing the spread of virus used along with staying 6 feet apart from other people. Okay. Masks only work if you are a good distance from people. If you're close up, like as close as I am to this camera, which is like 2 feet, they're not going to do anything. They do nothing. Big zero, zilch, and nada. Right? And so it's because of this having to stay 6 feet apart from each other that led to the economic shutdown. Because you can't work close to one another and keep the virus from spreading. Right? And so the government mandates shut everything down. Try to stop the spread. Stop as many people from dying as possible. Okay? Which leads me to my next point. Gosh. This is absolutely ridiculous. Pope Francis blames capitalism for what we're experiencing. Pope Francis disparaged so-called trickle-down economic theory. Okay, I want to pause there. Trickle-down economic theory is not a thing. It does not exist. Okay? It is a derogatory term to define, to refer to something called supply-side economics. Okay, trickle-down economics is a nickname that makes fun of supply-side economics. That was derived from the political left because supply side is typically adopted by right wing. Okay. Pope Francis disparaged so-called trickle-down economic theory, saying the pandemic has shown the free market policies cannot solve all of humanity's most dire needs. In a 70-page encyclical, the highest form of papal teaching, Pope Francis outlined his vision for a post-pandemic world. The marketplace by itself cannot resolve every problem, however much we are asked to believe the dogma of neoliberal faith, the Pope wrote. Okay, I want to stop right there. Because saying the pandemic has shown that the free market policies cannot... Okay, this economic shutdown did not show anything about the free market. It showed a lot about the powers of the federal government, right? The market, okay, there were several private companies and CDC backed businesses that were like, hey, we can develop these tests pretty quickly. We can get out tests pretty quickly. We can help you develop these personal protective equipment. And the federal government said no. It was February when several companies and corporations were telling the federal government, we can start working on a vaccine right now. We just need the go-ahead. And the government said, no, we don't need you to do that. We've got it. Look how well that's turned out. Look how well that's turned out. This is not a stab at the private market. This is a stab at the government. Okay? All of the stuff we are experiencing right now, okay, the economic shutdown, the spread of the virus, all of this is due to poor governance. This doesn't happen in the private market because competition dictates, maybe I should do what's best for me. And doing what's best for me means I got to do some things I don't want to do to make sure I survive. Okay? The marketplace by itself cannot resolve every problem. That's true, but it can resolve a lot. And it could have resolved a lot if the federal government hadn't stepped in the way. We would likely be a lot closer to a vaccine by now if the government had said, no, we don't need you to develop a vaccine. He added that the free market capitalism reproduces itself by resorting to the magic theories of spillover or trickle as the only solution to societal problems. That's not true. The Pope here displays a severe lack of understanding for capitalistic economic theory. The Pope said this spillover does not resolve the inequality that gives rise to new forms of violence threatening the fabric of society. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Has anyone noticed that since the shutdown, what happened? Economic inequality got greater, not smaller. Okay? Government shutdowns have created greater inequality, not less. It's that simple. If you want to have less economic inequality, you have to cut regulations and allow businesses to grow. Okay, I work for a small business. We had to shut down for months. You know who didn't have to shut down for once? Massive corporations. And the owners of those corporations were still raking in the dough. The Christian tradition, the Pope says, has never recognized the right to private property as absolute or inviolable and has stressed the social purpose of all forms of private property, Pope wrote. Okay, so on top of being completely wrong about the economic theory of capitalism and misunderstanding current events, the Pope is a heretic. Okay, what do you think the 10 Commandments are? Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's things. This is about private property. Private property is the greatest gift. Not the greatest gift. One of the greatest gifts to humanity from God himself. Obviously, the greatest gift that God gave to humanity is, life. Second would probably be Jesus dying on the cross for us. Okay, but pretty high up there is private property because it means we get to defend ourselves. This is crazy to me because no one understands what's actually happening because they don't take the time to read and learn and look at the actual information. Speaking of people not reading and learning and taking the time to look at the actual information, let's hop on over to Kyle Rittenhouse. So here is an 11-minute video. All the video from the night when Kyle Rittenhouse killed 3 people, 2 people, and injured another one. I don't even remember exactly how many people he killed. I know he injured one and killed 2 or 3 more. People are still touting this man out, this young man. I say that advisedly. He's 17 years old. Some people on the left are touting him out as a villain and a white supremacist, and people on the right are touting him out as a hero. Okay, neither of those things are true. Neither of those things are true. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse. 7 things to know about the 17-year-old white supremacist who killed 2 Jacob Blake protesters. Okay, false. Everything about this headline is false. Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, 7 things you needed to know. Well, we didn't need to know these 7 things. 17 years old? Okay, yeah, he is 17 years old, or he was at the time this was written. White supremacist? No. There's no evidence he is a white supremacist. And when I say no, I don't mean a little. I don't mean a little bit more than a little. I don't just mean a minuscule amount. I mean 0. There is no evidence that Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist. Okay? Killed 2. He did kill 2. And injured another. Jacob Blake protesters. These were not Jacob Blake protesters. These were rioters and looters looking to go get some new shoes. Let's be completely honest about what's happening here. He didn't kill 2 Jacob Blake protesters. He killed 2 thugs. 1, he's a high school dropout. So what? I know plenty of high school dropouts. They're pretty cool people. That doesn't make him a white supremacist. His Facebook account backed the Blue Lives Matter movement. So, I know lots of people that back the Blue Lives Matter movement. I know lots of people that back the Black Lives Matter movement. That doesn't make them a white supremacist or a racist. Rittenhouse attended a Trump rally. So, again, I know lots of people that attend Trump rallies. That doesn't make them white supremacists. He often shot his semi-automatic rifle for leisure. Okay, so he knew how to use his gun. I know how to use guns. Doesn't make me a white supremacist. Rittenhouse was a part of local police cadet programs. That doesn't make him a white supremacist. None of these things make him a white supremacist. The YMCA, his former employer, said he's not welcome back. Okay, so why do we need to know this? He's not welcome back to his place of employment after he killed 2 people? No, duh. He gave an interview claiming he was protecting property in Kenosha. Yeah, and there's plenty of evidence to support that. There's video evidence to support that, right? Both people he killed were in self-defense. The person he injured was in self-defense. Okay? He was walking over to a group. They started chasing him. One man threw a Molotov cocktail at him and then shot at him. So what did he do? He started running. Then they chased him and shot at him again. So he turns around with his rifle, pop, pop, shoots at them, killing 1. Okay? Then you can see this on the video. He pulls out his phone, okay? Calls the police and says, "I think I just killed someone." He turned himself in, but that wasn't enough. People start chasing him again, so he starts running for his life because one of them has a gun, a felon who shouldn't have been able to, okay? And then he falls, they beat him. He shoots another 2 people, injuring 1, killing another. All 3 shoots are in self-defense. That does not mean he should have been there. Kyle Rittenhouse most certainly should not have been there. It is not okay for someone to show up to someone else's place of business and to protect it unless the owner of that business asks you to. And right now, sorry, there's no evidence that happened. Kyle Rittenhouse is a thug. Kyle Rittenhouse is a vigilante. He is not a hero. That does not mean that the killings that he did were unjustified. All 3 shootings were justified in self-defense. Shouldn't have been there. Killings were justified. I don't know how you can spin that any other way other than maybe involuntary manslaughter. Carrying a weapon across state lines? Sure. Carrying a weapon as a minor? Sure. Charge him for both those things. Can't really charge him for the shootings when he didn't instigate. And so far, there's no video evidence that he instigated. Only hearsay. Hope you liked today's show. Like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share with your friends. Thank you for watching.